Welcome to HypeTrain, guys. Today we've got a Geography Now one for you. This one's Argentina.
Argentina.
I think there's been a few people asked for this one in the comments.
Especially after we did the Brazil. We'll have to do some more down that particular territory. I don't think we've done too many, actually, to be fair.
We've still got lots to do, I believe.
Yeah, I know I was looking at possibly doing Mexico quite soon. But leave your favourite in the comments below, as always. Yeah. And don't forget, if you didn't already know, don't forget, but we have a music channel where we ironically put all our music reactions on.
Boom, boom.
Apart from our Nightwish. So our Nightwish are going to stay here, but I'll leave a link in the top of the description. That's a fairly new channel. There's like, I don't know, at the time of talking, a dozen or so videos up there for you to go and watch. And
YouTube prefers the channels to just, they won't tell anyone about mixed channels. So
so we're niching down on that channel. Our music will go over there where they all get copyright, so we don't go worry about that a lot. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to learning a bit more about Argentina. Shall we go for it?
Let's take a look.
All right, our first South American country. This is the land of silver, kind of, not really. Welcome to Argentina.
It's time to learn geography.
No! We'll explain more about the
even
silver
had a
stuff
different
later, but
picture
first,
on the intro.
Let's talk about the flag. The Argentinian flag has equally long, tall white and blue stripes, and it's interesting because there technically isn't an official meaning to these colors. Many will say that it resembles the sky with blue and the white clouds. However, many historians will tell you that it's colored that way to represent loyalty towards the House of Bourbon. In the center is the Sun of May emblem. Historians accredit this emblem to representing the Incan design of the sun god Inti. All right, that was fun. Now let's talk about Argentina's location and borders in political geography.
So I'm digging the music in the background.
Argentina is located on the bottom part of the South American continent, bordered by 5 other countries and the Atlantic to the east.
Pretty
it's
big,
divided into
that's what I was
23
just thinking.
separate
It's actually
provinces
bigger than I
and
was
the
expecting.
autonomous capital city of Buenos Aires. Argentina's borders are pretty simple, except for that one island called Isla Martín García that lies in Uruguayan waters and is kind of shared by both countries. Otherwise, many of Argentina's borders are actually just natural land barriers, such as the Andes Mountains in the west by Chile, and in the Misiones province, the Rio Parana, Iguazu, and San Antonio rivers, and the Uruguay River
Waterfalls,
for Uruguay and Brazil. Which, by the way, gives Argentina a very distinguishable panhandle, kind of like Afghanistan that we studied a few weeks ago. You can even see it from space. Due to the fact that the land is less cultivated and thanks to natural river borders, it has a more lush green appearance that sticks out in contrast to its neighboring nations. But then you get the arbitrary subtle borders over flat land and hills, kind of like the ones by Bolivia, sometimes marked boldly and sometimes virtually invisible. Where things get really complicated though is in the south, more specifically, the furthest south. Tierra del Fuego, or the land of fire, which is pretty ironic considering that it's actually one of the coldest places in all of Argentina, was named after the fires that Magellan saw the native tribes using on the land when he discovered the area in the 16th century. Anyway, it's the smallest province in all of Argentina, and it's actually an island that they share with Chile. And they kind of have like a who can claim the bottom of the world competition when it comes to this territory. On this island, Argentina has a population that far surpasses Chile's by about 19 times. And for a while, had the world's southernmost city, Ushuaia, established in 1884. However, Chile didn't back down from the fight, and in the 1950s, built a small little establishment just a few miles south across the Beagle Channel, named Puerto Williams, or Cabo de Hornos, named after Cape Horn, and hence, with a population slightly over 3,000, and even their own little airport, Chile just barely beat Argentina in having the world's most southern town. But where things get even more complicated are these islands right here. Now, if you ask an Argentine, they'll tell you that these islands are called the Islas Malvinas. They totally belong to Argentina, no questions about it, end of story. They're so serious about it that they even named an entire stadium and an airport after the islands to reflect the sovereign claim that they have over the islands. If you ask a British person, they'll tell you that these islands are a collectivity of islands made up of the Falkland Islands in the west, South Georgia, and the South Sandwich Islands, not to be confused with the Sandwich Islands, which was the name originally given to the Hawaiian Islands. Argentina claims that after gaining independence from Spain in 1816, the islands were given to them from the Spanish Empire, and the British came in 1830 and forcibly pushed out the Argentines that had settled there and barred them from ever coming back. However, the British claim that they were the ones that discovered the islands in the 17th century, even though technically the French were the first ones to actually colonize the island. And
see, that's the thing that gets confusing, doesn't it? I mean, you see the Falkland Islands, and we had obviously the Falkland War and all that, didn't we? And the Top Gear episode, that was quite tragic on its own. That was a bit
I think
bad.
the further back you go in time and history, there's different people have taken over different, well, we've kind of seen that with different parts, different countries were owned by different people at different times. It's just
But like he says there, France supposedly might have actually found or discovered the Falkland Islands, but then the British claim they're theirs, and then Argentina like, no, they're ours. And then how can Britain even have them if that is true, if France found them first? So it's like, gets quite technical, doesn't it? It's like,
I guess there was some kind of war, and they just said, right,
one we didn't know about.
kill
No
you all
doubt.
off and
I don't know.
we take it over.
It's too political for my liking.
Either way, they have a permanent population of about 3,000 people that live on the islands that are British nationals that were born and raised on the
We're on
islands.
that one as
Eventually,
well.
tensions
Never
rose
heard
and
that.
they went to
Nah,
war
me
over the
neither.
islands in 1982. Long story short, the UK was able to fight off the Argentine troops and hold on to the islands, although Argentina still doesn't recognize the UK's sovereign claim. It's kind of funny though, because in 2009, former UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown actually met up with Argentine President Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner, and when it came to the Falkland Island thing, they just kind of awkwardly said they wouldn't talk about it. Well, that was a lot of information. Now let's talk about what the land actually
Yeah,
looks
don't
like.
talk too much about Brown, he's useless.
Argentina is one of the most diverse countries in terms of landscape. In almost every corner, you see something that is completely different from the opposite corner that you were just at. In the north by Brazil and Paraguay, you can find rainforests and lush,
Beautiful.
humid tropic zones. In the interior and Midwest, you can find flat pampas and farmlands and hills. In the west by Chile, you find the mountains, with the highest point being
Yeah,
Mount
beautiful.
Aconcagua,
What a beautiful
which, by
country.
the way, is the highest
Scenery
mountain
out
in
there.
Great
South America. In the east, by the
Immense.
Atlantic, you can find nice coastal beaches. A little bit further south, you can find
got
ranches and
everything.
mineral
I
mines.
wanna go
A little
there.
bit further south from that, you can find cold and chilly rocky deserts and cacti in the Patagonia region and petrified wood forests, such as the one in Ormachea. If you go even further south into the end of the Patagonia region, you can find glaciers and ice. This is the
love to be
coldest
there,
part
I
of
know.
Argentina. It's kind of interesting though, because
Nice and probably
the
melted
south part
now.
of South America has what you would probably
By the time
call
you get
a
there.
reverse double rain shadow effect, in which wind currents cause the moisture to stay in the north part of Argentina, making the north part of Chile a desert, and the complete opposite in the south, in which Argentina becomes a desert and Chile has a lush green interior. Kind of interesting how that happens. Funny story, Argentina was actually originally colonized because the settlers thought that the land would be rich in silver, hence where Argentina gets its name, the Latin word argentum, which means silver. However, in a weird turn of events, Argentina was actually rich in almost every single mineral except silver. Zinc, copper, and lead can be found in various mines all over. However, Argentina is especially rich in boron, making Argentina the third largest boron producer in the world after Turkey.
Yeah,
and the
boron.
US. Hope I
heard
haven't
of it, I
boron you
don't know
yet
what
with
it's
the
called.
that was terrible. Let's just here's the
Yeah.
demographics. Argentina has a population of about 41 million people, or roughly the same as the country of Sudan. The Argentines have a saying, Los Argentinos descienden de los barcos, or the Argentines are descended from the boats, meaning that Argentina is almost completely and entirely a country of immigrants. Argentina can actually disputably be considered as the whitest country in all of South America. It's kind of hard to distinguish the specific percentages though, because many Argentine census reports don't really factor in race too often, but even the most conservative estimates put Argentina at somewhere around 85 to 95% European. Believe it or not, about half of the Argentinian population is Italian, or at least partial Italian in their descent. Floods of people from Italy immigrated in the 19th and 20th centuries to avoid economic turmoil in the mother country and saw Argentina as a way to rebuild their lives.
Really?
Spanish, of
Why
course, plays into that mix
Argentina?
as well, and about 17% of the people identify as French and about 8% German.
How did they
with the
decide
remaining
to get
European
there?
groups coming from a slew of countries like
Yeah, what
Norway,
was it?
Switzerland,
Let's go
and so on.
Argentina.
In
That's
fact,
quite a nice
interestingly
place.
enough, if you go to
Yeah.
the Chubut
colder
province
down
in the
that way.
south, you can actually find a town of about 50,000 Welsh people called Uladfa Gymraeg. A good portion of these people
Close
are actually
up.
fluent in Welsh, making Argentina one of the few places in the world where you can actually find
Don't
a
know why they
genuine
went
Welsh
there.
community with instituted facilities that speak Welsh as a
They probably
as a
speak
main
better
language.
Welsh
Things
down
get
there
a
than
little
they do in
fuzzy though
Wales,
when it
don't
comes to the natives. Although people who identify as full-blooded
thought the
Amerindian
signs
only
were
make
in
up about
Welsh.
2% of the
I think it
population,
was. That was
about
sign, wasn't it?
9% of the population
Might not have
identify as mestizo, or mixed between Amerindian and European. However, a recent study by geneticist Daniel Korach has theorized that over half the entire population of Argentina probably has at least one ancestor that was Amerindian. Argentina actually used to have a surprisingly large black population, especially during the colonial days, and at one point during Spanish colonization, blacks actually made up a third of the entire population. However, after independence,
Wow,
the
it's changed,
population of
isn't it?
blacks
Yeah.
sharply declined due to a number of factors, such as epidemics, anti-African legislation in the early years, and many of them emigrated to more African-friendly nations like Paraguay and
Like
Brazil.
I say, 'cause that's nearly coming across there. When you start saying that, it's like it sounds a bit like racist, doesn't it? Something happened there that pushed all the blacks out, weren't it?
They
in
were
a
like,
way.
yeah, we're not having this, we're off. Yeah, they've seen what's happened elsewhere and decided to get out before they were mistreated.
Not that I'm slating going to Argentina. I'd love to visit there myself, but why colonise there? A lot of people as well colonise there. Like I say, 50% of the country is native in Italian. It's a lot of people.
It certainly is, yeah. I have no idea. Anyone got any ideas why they decide to all go there?
Why not Brazil? Why not Mexico?
Yeah.
Then why not?
Why did a load of English decide to get in a ship and go
to the front?
colonise Canada?
All right.
Today they make up less than 1% of the entire population. However, they have definitely left their mark on Argentine culture with contributions to art and music, and arguably the inception of the tango. When it comes to culture, Argentina has a very defined and nationalistic approach to how they operate and view in life. They like to keep things classy, but in their own Argentinian way, distinct from the European way. The last thing an Argentinian would want to hear you say is, "You are so Spanish." Argentina also has a huge wine culture, as they are the 5th largest producer
Yes,
of
I
wine
love a
in the
glass of
world.
wine.
And they're very heavy on soccer, or football, and
Yes.
basketball, with an impressive amount of players already having been drafted in the NBA, such as my favorite, Andres Nocioni. Speaking of international trade-offs, let's talk about Argentina's friends. In order to understand how Argentina works diplomatically, you kind of have to understand its history. Since its independence, Argentina has gone through a lot of crazy times. To make things short, Argentina was part of the Spanish Empire as well as many of her neighbor nations. However, when an empire collapses, guess what happens? Internal conflict. In post-colonial independent times, Argentina has had wars and battles with every single one of her neighbor nations except for Uruguay. Today, Argentina gets along pretty well with her siblings, even though she adopted different trade policies from many of them. Now, when it comes to Spain, Argentina definitely does not have post-colonial Stockholm syndrome. Now, granted, Argentines do love Spanish people, they just don't like the Spanish government. However, when it comes to their best friends, Argentina might probably consider Uruguay and Italy their best friends. Uruguay has a very similar demographic and culture to the Argentines, and they have been very close for as long as their country's conceptions. Some might even argue that Uruguay is kind of like the cute little sidekick of Argentina. And of course, Italy is definitely a huge player in the Argentinian clique. Not only do over half of the people in Argentina identify with Italy ethnically, but many of the major and most important companies in Argentina are Italian-based, such as Techint, Iveco, Pirelli, and Telecom. In conclusion, Argentina might not exactly be the country of silver that it was originally thought to be, but the spirit of the people with their fierce culture and passion definitely make them look golden. Stay tuned, Armenia is coming up next.
Armenia. I don't know when we're going to get around to Armenia. We've still got about another 100 or so to do. I can't remember how many we've done, at least 20, 30 odd now. As always, I say many times, I would love to visit Argentina. The scenery's stunning. Beautiful beaches, beautiful mountains and countryside and deserts. And
Definitely are. I'm pleased to see that one because I didn't realise how sort of different all the different areas were of it. I kind of you kind of think Argentina with football, and really kind of just imagine we're being flat. And
well, I know it's big on its football. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to be flat. I didn't know too much about the south part.
It's so far down that it's got icebergs sort of right at the bottom.
But it's known as the fiery area.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing. I guess all the natives were trying to keep warm when they turned up.
Well, no, it was already warm when they turned up by the sound of it. And you can tell though, as always, it's an early one because again they don't go much into the cuisine. I always like to see. I like food. Who doesn't like food? Yeah, I love to see the cuisine in these countries, see what they have to offer and that. But no.
Yeah, well, they're sort of 20 to 25 minutes long, the newer ones, aren't they? These are 10 minutes. They couldn't got it in there.
They identify with the Italians quite well, so I'm guessing pasta.
But they don't being mentioned with Spain, but it was a lot of Spanish were there. So
was there a lot of Spanish there?
I'm sure all the Spanish flags were there coming in.
I think we've jibbered on long enough. So let us know anything you can, as always, in the comments below, and recommend your next country that we should react to in the comments below. We might actually do Mexico because we've got that already downloaded, ready to do. But I want to go to Mexico and all, so I already know that before I even see that one. So hopefully we get to see a bit more about the cuisine out there as well, because I can't beat a good taco and a wrap. So if you're still here, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Catch you on the flip side.